So a photographer had to go to court to defend his basic rights at a public event. We also have new ultralight, ultra-fast primes. CIPA is making it look like cameras are doomed, which I'm skeptical of. And Morgan Stanley says that Adobe is doomed, which I'm less skeptical of. So let's jump in. So our first story, British press photographer Dimitris Lagakis. I think I'm saying his name right. I really hope so. As someone whose family came from Megalopoly and my grandmother's maiden name is Stamatopoulos, I hope I got that name right. Owner of Athena Picture Agency, he successfully brought a private prosecution against a woman who assaulted him. Owner of Athena Picture Agency successfully brought a private prosecution against a woman who assaulted him after she demanded that he delete photos of a child who was participating in a public event. He was covering the annual 3 Counties Bloodhounds Clean Boot Hunt in Swansea, South Wales on December 26th last year, when a woman confronted him over images that included a child. When he attempted to walk away, she grabbed his arm and his jacket. Now the story says that the two approached a police officer on duty, and in my head I just imagined like the two of them interlocked with his jacket, which probably wasn't funny, but in my head it just seems kind of funny. She wouldn't let him go, and she asserted that the photos should be deleted off of his camera. And the officer that they approached reminded her that the event was in public, and so Lagakis left. So on January 9th, he filed an online report alleging the assault, and after months of inaction, he decided to take it into his own hands and initiated a private criminal prosecution. Now, this woman had no prior criminal record, but she did plead guilty to what they called assault by beating, which sounds a little aggressive considering how the incident was described, but still, she was fined about 400 pounds. Now, the police indicated that an investigation had been opened, but there wasn't enough evidence to proceed. Interestingly, there is an additional report. Lagakis specifically was involved in an altercation with a police officer where he was convicted for assault, but he appealed that ruling and it was overturned. And there's an additional complaint under review by the Force's Professional Standards Department about how that original case was handled. The judge in that second case, the conviction or overturned conviction for allegedly assaulting the police officer, the judge called it disturbing and said that it raised serious questions about press freedom in the UK. And I bring this story up just to underscore one simple principle, which is that photographing people in public events is lawful. Now there's nuance to that, and I would say that if you're just photographing kids, that can be questionable, and I wouldn't be shocked if someone were to approach you if you weren't in some way either associated with the event or if you didn't have a press credential. But even in that case, physical interference and assault and aggression by the public is not appropriate regardless of what it is that you're doing. In fact, I was just recently photographing a sports event. This is the National Scholastic Surfing Association in Oceanside, California. I was up on the pier and got some, what I think are great shots of the kids just doing some phenomenal, they are so talented out there on the waves. And in the back of my head, I realized there was a potential that someone may approach me. I keep my cards with me. I keep my drone license with me. So photographing people in public is legal. Keep your head on a swivel, be aware of what's going on. And if you're a member of the public and you see something strange when it involves children and photography, don't get physical. It's not gonna end well for you either way. Next, let's talk about CIPA numbers. You know, I love numbers, I love market numbers. They tell us where things are going. These numbers from August are interesting because they show that camera shipments are mostly down, with one specific exception, and those are compact cameras. Now, even without a full breakdown, that trend suggests a softness in the larger system sales, while small, simple cameras are finding folks who are demanding something a little bit better than a smartphone. And the takeaway is pretty straightforward. The market is mixed. It's a reminder to watch how manufacturers are balancing the enthusiast systems they're releasing, entry-level gear, and the fact that younger folks are gravitating towards compact cameras, while folks more in the enthusiast prosumer market are, to be quite honest, holding on to some of their gear. And if they were to buy stuff, they did it in the summer before all the tariffs hit, especially here in the US, and prices globally were going up from some of our Japanese manufacturers. but we're also getting a lot of movement, which is pushing more and more into the Chinese market. An example of that is the Brightin Star. Now, I reviewed the Brightin Star 50mm f.95, which is not a brand new lens, but it was super fun to shoot with. I'll put a link down below to that review video. But according to Digital Camera World, Hong Kong-based Brightin Star has launched their tiny and inexpensive ultra-wide. It's a 10mm f5.6 APS-C lens. And the headline feature on this lens really is how light it is. It's roughly 100 grams. Now that can change a little bit depending on the mount, between 94 and 116 grams. Which one is the heaviest? And it's only 20 millimeters thick, excluding the mount and lens hood. And even though it is an all metal construction, the overall package remains relatively light. It delivers 175-degree field of view, which on an APS-C lens reads at 15mm equivalent perspective, depending on crop math. But if you watch that Brightin Star video that I did, or any of the manual APS-C crop lens videos that I did, I just did a TT Artisans 35mm f1.4 review on the channel. I'll link that as well. You know that if you're shooting in a full frame body and you put on these APS-C lenses, in some cases, you can continue to shoot in full frame and actually get more field of view, more coverage on the sensor, and crop in post to get more resolution than you would get if you were to use your traditional crop in mode, like on a Canon where it defaults to the 1.6. I've noticed that there's a lot more usable resolution when using full frame and then cropping into something like a square when using these APS-C manual lenses, which are they're just fun to use. But this lens can give you some dramatic coverage for things like landscapes, architecture, and just creative and fun framing. I love these lenses. They are fun. I wouldn't necessarily use them for work, but I would definitely use them to have a good time and just to take some super cool pictures. Now, this is a manual focus lens. It has a clicked aperture ring from f5.6 to f22, and it fits well on retro bodies like the X-T5, the Nikon ZFC, and it's got a minimum focusing distance of 0.2 meters. Internally, it's got 6 elements in 5 groups with a 5-bladed aperture, so you are definitely going to notice those bokeh balls. Though you won't get as many, considering the fact that it's 5.6, and it does have a lens hood that slides out to block stray light and protect the front element without cutting into that ultra-wide framing. But in addition to the super lightweight and the super wide field of view, the other headline here is the price. It's $110 in the United States. And if you can work with f5.6 using a tripod if there's low light, it's a fun, creative, pocketable way to explore ultra-wide fisheye perspectives without a lot of cost or weight. I'll put a link down below if you want to check that out. That is a super fun lens. And again, I really enjoyed the other Brightin Star lens that I reviewed here on the channel. But hey, a quick note before we dive back into the next story. You might have noticed that I haven't been doing my traditional mid-video shout outs for members lately. That's intentional. I still have a small group of incredible channel members. Thank you all so much for your support. But YouTube revenue can be all over the place. August was one of my worst months this year. And then September was one of the best. Go figure. But YouTube is rolling out new features that allow creators to dynamically insert promos and sponsorships across multiple videos. So I've held off baking in membership promos because I plan to use that feature. I'm going to keep things short, clean, and effective, and I'd love your thoughts on how best to present memberships and my photo sessions. Drop a comment, let me know what resonates with you, and ideally, if YouTube will let us exclude these promos, or really any promos from member-only videos entirely, I would do that in a heartbeat and make it a completely ad-free experience for my members. Hopefully that's something that we can move towards in the future. Okay, back to the video. Now, let's talk about a broader story with some real kind of financial stakes here. Let's talk about Adobe. So according to Petapixel and Morgan Stanley, Adobe has been downgraded and cut its price target, Morgan Stanley did, from $520 a share to $450 a share, citing a widening gap between Adobe's pace of AI innovation and their revenue, and how much of that revenue they can directly attribute to their AI efforts as it relates to digital media and that specific division. The report points to competitors like Canva, Google, and Meta introducing AI features that are showing clear revenue ties. Now, Adobe's stock has slid in the month of September, hitting $353 per share, and on September 24th, it rolled down to $344 a share. Now, as users of Adobe products, this might seem antithetical to those of us who are honestly quite upset at how much Adobe products cost and how reliant we are on them in some cases, especially when you're in the middle of trying to do something in Photoshop or Lightroom and you get hit with a pop-up that says that you're out of generative credits. because there are legitimately other companies that are coming in and providing a lot of the kind of new and interesting innovations when it comes to design for things like advertising, graphics, thumbnails, all the things that in some cases we use our Adobe products for. And we'll talk about video editing in a second. But while Adobe has been super vocal about their Firefly product, the generative tools have lagged in usefulness for much of the year, especially when you compare it to things like VO3 from Google or the recently released Sora 2 from OpenAI. Some selection and removal tools have improved recently, but generative outputs have been poor, and the generative video tool remains far from usable. Honestly, I would just be happy if generative remove in Lightroom was faster or more automatic, or if it had keyboard shortcuts. Other than Q, my Q button is now, there's no Q anymore. The Q is gone. I go Q, R, Q, R, Q, R, it's gone. I want Q to give me the brush, and then let me hit another button to do the detect distracting people and elements. And I needed to find more than just people. Sorry. Can you tell that I'm a family and portrait photographer who shoots on the beach a lot? So under pressure to monetize AI, Adobe has opened its platform to third-party generative tools, including Nano Banana, which is the VO system from Google, which dilutes the distinct value of Adobe's responsible AI message. And in June, Adobe started tracking generative AI using their credit system across its apps to establish a clearer revenue attribution. If those numbers don't climb, investors won't be satisfied, the stock price won't go up, and this is a publicly traded company, they want the stock price to go up. So that means you'll get fewer generative credits with your monthly subscription, or certain things won't qualify for being free and you'll need bigger credits. I don't know, they're gonna find new ways to make this stuff more expensive to appease advertisers. Because there has been community pushback. Many artists view the generative AI as being trained on human work and then sold back to creators, fueling considerable amounts of skepticism. Adobe's brief foray into Blue Sky triggered such a backlash that it was effectively forced off the platform, which is a small but telling signal of the general public sentiment. And for creators, the core question is whether Adobe's AI roadmap becomes reliably useful in day-to-day work, and whether that usefulness, not just the promises, show up in measurable adoption. So if you're using Adobe tools daily, how are you feeling about their AI direction right now? As a portrait and family and wedding and event photographer, I use generative AI as a removal tool primarily. I'll remove people off the beach, I'll remove stray hairs, bra straps, sunglasses hanging off the back of a shirt. When you're doing quick portrait sessions like I do, it's sometimes difficult to catch every single detail in the moment, and having generative remove allows me to fix some of those things in post. But many of the other generative tools I'm not using because honestly, I prefer a more realistic representation. Maybe that means I'm behind. I use other AI tools in a number of places, but just not traditionally when I'm editing photos. And I don't actually use Adobe's products to edit my videos. And so let's talk next about video editing. So Adobe Premiere on iPhone is out. It's officially available and it's free to download and use. The app brings many familiar capabilities from the Desktop Pro, including multi-track timelines, high-end audio editing, AI-powered features, Adobe Stock integration, and seamless send and receive within Creative Cloud. So that means that you can start an edit in the field on your phone and then pick it up in Premiere Pro on the desktop, or finish it on your phone and export straight to TikTok or YouTube. Now, Adobe says that it built the iPhone app with input from working creators. Emmy-nominated journalist Cleo Abram describes it as a production studio in my pocket, and photographer Temi Coker highlights how Premiere on iPhone removes friction. You no longer delays shoots, waiting to back up to a big camera and desk setup. And he calls the enhanced speech feature a game changer, producing crisp, professional audio from the iPhone microphone. YouTuber MyFam points to the large timeline view as proof that this isn't just a desktop UI squeezed onto a small screen, but a mobile-first design. And I'm just gonna say, I think that this shows that Adobe has kind of done a bit of a backtrack, because remember, Adobe Rush was supposed to be Premiere in your pocket. It was the streamlined editing platform, but now with desktop quality applications on your phone like CapCut, and I would say even Meta's Edits app for Instagram, which I've been using and honestly I think is kind of fun and works relatively well and fast for me. it was not a surprise when they discontinued Rush earlier this year. Now, feature-wise, with this new version of Premiere Pro, you get end-to-end editing tools, you get 4K HDR capability, frame-accurate cuts, captions, which is huge, speed and motion effects, AI audio tools, one-tap exports, plus Adobe stock and font integration. Core editing is free. Firefly features AI text-to-image, image-to-video, background expansion, and removal, automatic captions. That requires a subscription at $7.99 a month or $69.99 for the year. An Android version is currently in development. My question is, can I do speed and warp stabilizer at the same time on a clip in this version of Premiere? Actually, I have a question. I'm gonna look this up real quick. We're gonna do this in the middle of the video. I don't normally like to do this because it makes me look unprepared, but I'm going to literally install the app on my phone right now. Gonna sign into my Adobe account. Holy shit. Okay, so I have the Adobe Creative Cloud Pro account. This account normally is $70 a month with an annual subscription. It's almost $800 a year if you pay for it for the year. It's over $100 a month if you just do month to month. It includes pretty much every app that Adobe makes in their Creative Cloud. It includes AI features, 4,000 monthly generative credits. And on the list of apps that are available, it includes Premiere Pro and, interestingly, Premiere Rush. I've installed the app on my phone, Adobe Premiere Mobile, and I have logged into my Creative Cloud Pro account, and it tells me that to unlock all the tools to bring my ideas to life, I need to spend $8 a month. You, Adobe. But hey, an Android version is in development. But next, I need a story that makes me feel better, which is Tamron has a new lens. It's a 70-180, and according to Petapixel, it's coming soon. It's going to be an f2.8 Di3 VC VXD G2, which if you watched my goodbye to Tamron video that I did last week, talking about the fact that I'm selling my favorite Tamron lens to get a Canon version so that I can go full RF. I know, I'm a quitter. Di means that it's a digital lens. VC means that it is vibration compensated. G2 means that it's the second generation of this lens, and I don't actually know what VXD means. Look up V. So that's their focus motor. So VXD is for voice coil extreme torque drive. Seems like they're trying pretty hard there. They also have RXD, which is effectively their stepping motor. So VXD is their voice coil, RXD is their stepping motor. Tamron also makes a USD or an ultrasonic drive and a PZD, which is their piezo drive for their ceramic lenses. Now this lens is going to be coming to the Nikon Z mount because, well, us Canon users are just doomed to the future. But this completes Tamron's f2.8 G2 Trinity for the Z mount alongside the 16-30mm and the 28-75mm. And this trio runs between $849 and $1,149 per lens, making it distinctly more affordable than Nikon's S line at the f2.8 zoom level. Now, Nikon does have a Nikkor set that is more cost-effective. That's the 70-28 with a 28-75 and a 70-180 as well. And those are between $1,200 and $1,400, but still, for the three, more expensive than what you would get out of Tamron. And Tamron makes just an amazing set of lenses. Now, the 70-180 G2 was originally released for the Sony E-mount in October of 2023, and it earned Petapixel's Zoom Lens of the Year in that year. And in their review, Chris is one of my favorite Canadians.
You again.
You guys are my favorite Canadians. That the bokeh is more natural and pleasing, and that the sharpness is improved over an already sharp predecessor, the G1, despite the lens getting slightly larger and heavier, though it remains easy to carry for an f2.8 telephoto. Now, on the Nikon Z, the lens is functionally identical to the E-mount version. Tamron's VC image stabilization, their fast VXD autofocus, and the close focusing distance for a lens of this type at 0.3 meters, right? It's less than 12 inches, is pretty phenomenal, and it features a moisture-resistant construction, a 67mm filter thread, and weighs only 860 grams. And it's going to be here on October 23rd in the US. So for Nikon shooters who are weighing third-party versus first-party, this fills out a consistent, travelable 2.8 kit with a lower overall cost and performance that has already been vetted on other cameras. But now let's close by switching from Nikon to Fuji, and let's do just kind of a look ahead. According to Daily Camera News, Fujifilm rumors are pointing to 2 waves of releases. First, we're going to get an October unveiling that is expected for the X-T30 III and a new Fujinon XC13 to 33mm. That's an f3.5 to 6.3 lens. And the new X-T30 is rumored to build on Fuji's mid-range formula with an APS-C X-Trans sensor, targeting improved dynamic range and low light performance while enhancing autofocus with faster subject tracking and better face and eye detection. It's also going to have upgraded video with 4K at higher frame rates, plus better in-camera stabilization versus the other model, the previous model, the X-T30 II. Now, the accompanying XC13 to 33 lens is positioned as being lightweight and affordable, and as being a wide to standard zoom for travelers and casual shooters, with an expected stepping motor for quiet, smooth autofocus, useful for video, but not as expensive as ultrasonic or voice coil level autofocus. The second wave that we're expecting from Fuji is a little bit bigger, and it's going to be early in 2026, where we're expecting to see the X-T6, the X Pro 4, and an X-H3, potentially timed around CP Plus in February or March, all 3 rumored to share a next generation 5th gen X-Trans CMOS sensor and a new processor, possibly a high resolution design around a 45 megapixel or more sensor with a faster readout to reduce rolling shutter and enable some more advanced video features. Highlights on those cameras, specifically the X-T6 is going to have classic SLR style dials, which Fuji is just known for, and refinements like deeper weather sealing, a higher resolution EVF, a fully articulating LCD, a new hybrid autofocus system that leverages deep learning, faster burst speeds, and video up to 6.2K at 10-bit 422 internal. On the X Pro 4, we're expecting a refined hybrid optical electronic viewfinder with a higher refresh rate, better parallax correction, and a slimmer magnesium body with improved sealing though, as well as USB-C power delivery charging, potential for internal body image stabilization, and video shooting at 4K 60, serving street and documentary photographers who want a little bit more on the tactile side of their controls. Meanwhile, the X-H3 is expected to be a performance flagship built around a stacked version of the new sensor for an ultra-fast readout, blackout-free shooting, and a high frame rate video option, potentially at 8K 60 with enhanced in-body image stabilization, up to 8 stops, a new and improved heat dissipation system, dual CF Express Type B slots, and a higher capacity battery are all included in this rumor roundup. Now, shared pipeline improvements could also include things like ISO performance, expanded dynamic range across the range, real-time AI subject recognition, more efficient heat management for longer video takes, and further refinement of the film simulation modes that Fuji is known for. Now, as always with rumors, none of this is confirmed until Fuji says so, and if the October X-T30 and XC13 to 33 timeline holds, and the 2026 launches land as expected, Fuji enthusiasts will have some compelling choices across compact, classic, and powerhouse bodies. But let me know down in the comments which of these rumored bodies are you most curious about for the work that you're doing if you are a Fuji shooter. And as I mentioned in my little promo break, if you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. It's $1 to start. If you're looking to book a photo or video session with me, all the details are down below, including links to some of this gear that I talked about. Now, using those links does help the channel. Those are affiliate links, but as always, the easiest way to support the channel is just to hit like and subscribe. Those are always free, but they do go a long way to helping me grow here on YouTube and on other platforms. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.